He was a cult leader, a manipulator, and the mastermind behind one of the most infamous murder sprees in American history. Charles Manson's name still sends chills down spines more than 50 years after the brutal killings that shook Hollywood. But who was he? And how did he manage to convince his followers to kill for him? This is the chilling story of Charles Manson and the Manson family. Charles Manson was born in 1934 to a 16-year-old mother who struggled to care for him. His childhood was a cycle of neglect, reform schools, and juvenile detention centers. By his early teens, Manson was already committing petty crimes, bouncing from prison to prison. But during these years, he developed a dangerous skill: manipulation. He learned how to control people, a trait that would later make him infamous. By the late 1960s, Manson had gathered a group of devoted followers, mostly young, impressionable women, who saw him as a spiritual leader. They lived together at Spahn Ranch, an abandoned movie set outside Los Angeles. Under the influence of drugs, paranoia, and Manson's twisted philosophies, his followers became a cult, willing to do whatever he commanded. On the night of August 8, 1969, Manson sent his followers to 10,050 Cielo Drive, the home of actress Sharon Tate and her husband, director Roman Polanski. What followed was a night of unimaginable horror. 5 people, including a pregnant Tate, were brutally murdered. The next night, the Manson family struck again, killing Lino and Rosemary LaBianca in their home. The killers left behind eerie messages in blood, including the words "Helter Skelter," inspired by Manson's twisted interpretation of a Beatles song. But what was his motive? Manson believed in a coming apocalyptic race war, which he called Helter Skelter. He thought these murders would ignite chaos between racial groups, and when the dust settled, he and his followers would emerge as rulers of the new world. It was a delusional fantasy, but one that had deadly consequences. Manson and his followers were arrested in late 1969. The trial that followed was one of the most infamous in American history. Manson carved an X into his forehead, later turning it into a swastika. His followers showed undying loyalty, even shaving their heads in solidarity. But in 1971, Manson and several of his followers were sentenced to death. Their sentences were later commuted to life in prison when California abolished the death penalty. Even behind bars, Manson remained a dark fascination in American culture. He gave chilling interviews, spewing his bizarre philosophies, and continued to influence people from prison. He became the face of evil, an icon of madness and manipulation. The Manson murders marked the end of the 1960s peace and love era, shattering the innocence of the counterculture movement. Over the decades, Manson has been the subject of movies, books, and documentaries, forever etched into the dark side of pop culture. Charles Manson died in 2017, but his legacy of manipulation, violence, and terror lives on. A man who never killed with his own hands, but whose words were deadly enough to change history forever. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into true crime and history. Let us know in the comments what case you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.